How's everybody doing? Welcome to another episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I'm so glad that you're joining us here on this Thursday evening as my next guest. I know that it's been such an incredible week, especially for my next guest and for everybody who has been an alumni or a current student at the university called Freed-Hardeman University. And for my audience that doesn't know about Freed-Hardeman University, is it a small NAIA private Christian school in Henderson, Tennessee. And I'm privileged to have the current sports information director and play-by-play announcer of the Freed-Hardeman Lions. Please welcome to the show, Dustin Semore.
Hello, Mr. Richard.
How are you feeling after just an incredible night a couple of days ago? I know you went to Kansas City. You had the long drive back home, but you made it back safe, and it's just time to celebrate.
Time to celebrate. It was an exciting week. We got in, I think, last Wednesday or something, and just it was go time all week.
All right, so I want to take you back to that moment, just on the call, because remember we couldn't celebrate like right away because the ref put .2 seconds on the clock, and even though the game was pretty much over, the confetti fell on the court, but we knew that Freed-Hardeman won the game. I mean, what was that call like on the broadcast?
It was. You hear Matt, who was the sports information director before me and is now a speech professor. He was my color commentator on there, and he just kind of screams like, "Dustin, we did it!" And I think that I started this is Freed-Hardeman, the national champions, and then hold up, we got to wait more. And it had just been a crazy week. Sorry, my cat's trying to join. He's missed me for the last week. And so it was just the entire time, especially being coming back with 10 points in the last minute, it was already insane. And so we were like, why not have a pause right before celebration?
All right, Dustin, let's take you back to your early days. Like, how long have you been the sports information director? What is your background in broadcasting? And I know you've been to Free before. Like, just give us a little bit of a background on how you got the sports information director position and play-by-play for the Freed-Hardeman Lions.
Well, for one, and I'm not typically the play-by-play for Freed-Hardeman. I'll occasionally step in for baseball and softball because primarily I keep the stats for basketball. I've been the stat keeper all year, and since I was in Kansas, I was going to Kansas City anyways, and initially it was going to be behind a paywall. The video broadcast at least. And so I was, up there. I had radio history. My background to get to where I am is quite different than most sports information directors. I did attend Freed-Hardeman. I graduated in 2014, but my degree is not in communication. My degree is not in sports management. My degree is in Bible. When I was at Freed-Hardeman, I worked at the radio station. And so I did have play-by-play history. I worked with the radio station and was the play-by-play announcer for, at the time, FM 91. It's 91.5, the Lion now, but it was FM 91. I was the play-by-play announcer for a lot of sports. And in all honesty, I didn't know what an SID was. A lot of people don't know what a sports information director is. And I met with the one who was there at the time, John Armstrong. He's at Eckerd College now, working in HR. And I told my wife, she's my wife now at the time, I was like, dude, that is my dream job of just getting to enjoy Freed-Hardeman athletics, talk about FHU athletics. But I was a preacher. I graduated with my degree in Bible. I preached for 10 years full-time at different congregations in Mississippi, Alabama. I was last in Arkansas. And the church I was at in Arkansas was about an hour away from another NAIA school called Crowley's Ridge College. My wife, it's also a Church of Christ school, the way that Freed-Hardeman is. And so my wife went and played volleyball there. And, I can't just watch sports. I have to do something. Asked their SID, do you need help? It's a tiny school, about 100 students. She was like, yes, please. And so I kind of filled in a little bit there. And then I saw that Freed-Hardeman was hired as sports information director. Had no thought that they would ever eventually hire me, but they hired a preacher, and I have been there for 2 years now. This is finishing up my second basketball season. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse from screaming for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sure you are. Well, I do have a story. The first time I met you, I met you once. You were in Columbus, Georgia, 2 years ago. The Freed-Hardeman softball team was in the NAIA World Series, and so I got to know you. And being from Columbus, anytime Freed-Hardeman will play a school from Georgia, like back in 2021, and I let Coach Stutz know because I remember talking to him. Freed-Hardeman played Point University in West Point, Georgia, and I was at that game in November of 2021. I mean, that was really before Freed-Hardeman started coming on their run. I mean, they make it to the tournament last year, and they win the championship this year. I mean, was this expected? I mean, we know that the girls have had success by winning a title in 2018 and going to multiple Fab Fours, but what's the vibe around campus? I mean, is everybody still shocked as much as we are?
Not shocked in the sense of, oh my goodness, Freed-Hardeman won it. We're just kind of shocked at the way that we won it. We knew that we were pretty good, and Coach Stutz knew it was a very special team. I would have a lot of other SIDs kind of talk to me of, do you think they can do it? And I was like, I know I'm kind of biased, but I've been around sports for a really long time, and we're pretty good. We're really good.
Yeah.
We got really good offense. Obviously, a very, very strong defense is what Coach Stutz has been pounding on them. Good, strong defense, and the way that we play, the way that Coach Stutz coaches. I don't want to say it was expected, but we're not entirely surprised based on the year that I've seen, and I've been right there, keeping the stats for them. I'm excited, but it's not a big shock that we won the national title, for me at least.
And for somebody that went to Freed-Hardeman back in 1999, all the way, I graduated in 2006. So I've been around the campus and the program, being the play-by-play announcer, occasionally filling in on 91.5. By the way, Dustin, back then it was called 91.5 WFHC. Then it changed to WFHU. The game has really changed. Is now that we have live streaming, and I know that we just did it on the radio, but when you're a Freed-Hardeman alum, and it really is so special when they finally win a championship. We got to experience this in 2018 when the Lady Lions won, and Coach Dale Neal did a phenomenal job, and we were just excited. But there's just something different when your men's basketball team wins a championship. My wife did go to Faulkner, so she has that championship in 2001 that she could brag about. And now I finally could say that Freed-Hardeman finally has a men's basketball championship, and it's still a great feeling. I'm still in shock, Dustin. I know that you were there. It's got to be even more surreal for you.
Yeah, just again, the way that they won it, the first
Down by
game we were there
6
against,
with a minute to
down by,
go?
right, and just
Unbelievable.
the fact that our defense did what they did, just that's how it's been all year. Coach Stutz been preaching defense, and the Langston was not able to get the ball past the half court in that last minute with quick steals, quick shots, good shots in the paint. That's just been the bread and butter for the Lions all year. And so it's again one of those where it's shocking, but it's not necessarily surprising because that's what they do.
Now, what is the vibe in the town of Henderson, Tennessee? Because I know that when I was there, like your typical Henderson, Tennessee resident was not going to Freed-Hardeman games. I mean, it was really a close-knit community with the campus. But I mean, how is Freed-Hardeman like perceived in the community in West Tennessee now that they're a perennial powerhouse in the NAIA? I mean, the better the team, I know that's got to be a better product, and then your average fan that just lives around the area is going to want to go support like a Quan Lax who played basketball at Bolivar High School. And so, seeing this homegrown talent at Henderson, I mean, really, what's the vibe like in Henderson, Tennessee?
That's something that Coach Stutz has really been wanting to have recently, is to bring the community in more. Certainly helps that, his last coaching job, he was the head coach at Chester County High School, which is right there in town. It's the Henderson High School.
Yeah.
And so he wants to do a lot of stuff to bring the community in. He'll have, local high school kids come in and make sure that their tickets paid for. He wants to make sure that all the local news articles get, or local news outlets get shared. And, we've had pretty good crowds. Don't know exact numbers, but we've had pretty good crowds. And, since it is such a small college, you can tell who's students and who's not. And there were a lot of non-students and non-faculty members at the games this year. The community is starting to buy in a little bit.
Dustin, let's talk about some of your duties and responsibilities as a sports information director. You write a lot of press releases. I mean, it's got to be like for immediate release. You're actually getting on and writing articles on the website immediately. I've read some of your articles. They are great, especially when you got to get that information out there immediate because everybody wants to know what's going on. Freed-Hardeman wins the championship. I mean, but you're doing double duty. You're calling the game on the radio, but you also got to write an article about it. And then, so you got your laptop out there? Are you taking notes, trying to get your article prepared? Because you know that after the broadcast is over, you got to put up an article.
I actually joked, Brad Seigan is, I call him the national SID. He's the director of athletic communications for the NAIA. And so I was just kind of talking with him after the game, and, he was congratulating me. And I said, now I get to go write a softball article. Because not only did we just win the national championship, but Freed-Hardeman softball had just played, and I'm the SID for all 15 teams. And so that's probably one of the hardest things for me is, yes, I did get to celebrate, and I didn't write the article until last night, but, that's probably the hardest thing as an SID is people will ask me, like, what's your favorite FHU team? And it'd be really easy for me to say men's basketball right now since they won a national championship. But I've got 15 other teams that, I want to share the story with. And, typically, my post game, I'm usually keeping the stats, or in this case, this weekend, I was broadcasting. You know, I waited a little bit longer because we all went out to eat at Yard House, a little local place in Kansas City. Got back to the hotel. I typically like to sit for a second, let the emotions die down, because I want to relay information, not necessarily emotion, in my articles. And so, sat down, looked at the play by play, looked at the scoring, looked at the stats and things like that, and then just start writing.
Dustin, what is your relationship like with new athletic director Jonathan Estes? I mean, I knew Jonathan when he was a player at Freed-Hardeman. He was on the baseball team. He became the baseball head coach, and now he is the athletic director. And really, with the programs that he has got, you got FHU softball that's going to make a deep run and possibly get to the NAIA World Series. By the way, in Columbus, I might see you in a couple of months. But you got the FHU baseball team doing very well. Both basketball teams, Coach Epperson doing a great job with the Lady Lions. And really, Coach Estes has got to be in control of it all as the AD. But what is your relationship with the athletic director, Coach Estes?
Coach Estes is great. He preaches culture. And when I say preach, I mean preach. It's not, every staff meeting we have begins with 10, 15-minute sermon. And that's something that being a preacher, that's something I appreciate. Coach Estes loves the fact that we're winning national championships, but he is more importantly concerned with these kids' souls. And, that's part of why I came to Freed-Hardeman. Of I consider this a ministry of types, which this is going to be a different conversation for most athletic departments. Of our mission is to bring these kids talents that God gave them to use them for His glory, and that's something that Coach Estes preaches. And because he was a coach, he understands the grind that's going to happen. He doesn't expect us to be in the office on a perfectly regimented 8 to 5 every single day. He understands that some since he was a coach, he understands some days you're going to finish writing your article at 2 in the morning, which is not uncommon to finish writing super late. He's just kind of, if you're not going to be in the office for 4 or 5 days, let us know. But he understands things. He lets me do my job. He stays in his lane. I stay in mine. We're in constant contact with each other. Of as far as players of the week and things like that. And if he has questions, he'll send me something. But he's so fun to work with. I love him to death. He is a great boss.
Dustin, one of the great things about being at Freed-Hardeman, I mean, it's a very close knit community, and I was getting to know and talking, rehashing the past, with a lot of alumni, people that I went to school with. I mean, we had a Facebook Live show immediately after Freed-Hardeman won the national championship, and it was great just to go back and reminisce about all those great basketball players from the past. I remember covering them, most of them, like the likes of Daniel Hope, Wes Miller, Brad Nielsen, who I'm Facebook friends, and it was great just catching up. I mean, having like guys like David Harper reaching out to me, Tim Alsup, Seth Matlock, Heath Matlock, Christopher Smith, so many great basketball players to come out of Freed-Hardeman. But I look at this team that Coach Drew Stutz has built, and you've got to start with that backcourt with Quan Lax and J.J. Wheat. By the way, Quan Lax only a sophomore. I can't believe that Freed-Hardeman gets 2 more years of him. But, I mean, in your opinion, I mean, you could be biased because you were there. This is by far the greatest Freed-Hardeman basketball team to ever lace it up on the court. Am I correct?
Correct. Verifiable now. First one to bring home the national championship. Yeah, and the fact that the only 2 players that Freed-Hardeman is losing, Grigory Sibilev, who's been a big. He didn't get very many minutes playing wise, but he was a big force on the bench. Always keeping the guys, loose, always making them smile. A little bit more on the court loss than Hunter Skurlock, who won the tournament MVP.
That's
Has
right.
been a Freed-Hardeman line for the last 5 years, but everybody else is coming back. And so, I kind of talked with Coach Stutz, and you can see a little glint in his eye. I don't want to talk about next year yet, but it's the same guys. You are missing that big piece in Hunter Skurlock and a big piece on the bench with Sibilev, but it's all the same guys. We've still got that same core, 2-point guards, Quan Lax, J.J. Wheat. We've still got the all-time field goal percentage, single season, Geraldo Lane still right there. Still got Riley McLaren, still got Sam Powell, all draining 3-pointers for us. Peyton Law, that's all there right there for next year.
Well, I expect records to be broken and some players on this team to be enshrined in the FHU Sports Hall of Fame, maybe in about 10 years, but it'll be a while. But Cortland Martin right now has the all-time leading scoring record for Freed-Hardeman. I know that could be in jeopardy, especially with Quan Lax averaging 13 points a game as a sophomore. I mean, he's got a ways to go, but I think that the Freed-Hardeman Lions for next year and for years to come, what Coach Stutz has built, I mean, he has got something that is sustainable. One thing I worry about, Dustin, with success comes other schools offering you the job. There's a possibility. I know that Coach Stutz, I mean, winning a championship at Freed-Hardeman, I mean, that could be a possibility where other schools like NCAA Division II, Division I schools might be calling out for him. And I don't know. I mean, we do have some schools also same religious affiliation that are in NCAA Division One. I'm thinking of Lipscomb, Abilene Christian. I mean, Harding's NCAA Division Two. I mean, there are some schools that could offer him the job down the road.
Yep, that's one of those things we don't want to talk about. We don't want to think.
I know.
But
I didn't want to bring that up. I'm just saying, just be prepared. In the next couple of years, I mean, we love what Coach Stutz has been doing. We hope that, I'm hoping that he builds a culture that if he does get offered a job, that one of his assistants can just come right in and everything is sustainable and they are just continuing to win. I mean, he has built an incredible foundation. And I'm hoping that Coach Stutz is the Freed-Hardeman coach for years to come.
I do too. And, he has several little mantras that he uses. Elite is earned was, a big thing. Today is the day is another thing. And one of them that, you don't hear quite as often, they'll have it on their shirts, is committed to the culture. And that's something that he wants, that culture of love, of God first, of, it's all about the team. And that's something that I got to see on display all year, especially this last week going to practices with him. I typically try to go see a practice, once a month or something during the year just to get a vibe of the teams. And just watching the way that he cares about those players, he's practicing exactly what he preaches. That's just something that Coach does. He doesn't scream at his kids. If he's upset with them, he takes them to the side. Doesn't rail at the kid in front of the rest of the team. Coach Dust is exactly what a Christian coach is supposed to be.
I absolutely agree. I've heard nothing but great things about what Coach Dutz has been doing for the team. But let's get back to your duties as the SID. Do you have like a say, like who makes the schedule? I'm really excited to see what the schedule for the 2024-2025 season for Freed-Hardeman is, because if they play a team that's in Georgia, I know they played Life University in Marietta. I missed it. But anytime they go into my area, like if they play a Point University, I'm usually there. And I'm just excited about the schedule. But do you have a say in creating the schedule, or how do they determine the schedule? I mean, I know that's not a coincidence they'll play Faulkner. I think that they've kind of, both schools want to see that matchup. We would love to see Freed-Hardeman taking on Harding. I know that that's kind of hard to do with Harding being NCAA Division II, but what goes into making the schedule?
Well, unfortunately, I have zero say as to scheduling. You can see that in the fact that when Freed-Hardeman hosted the first and second rounds of the national tournament, we also had softball at home. We also had baseball at home. So I'm still, I'm still
a busy couple of days for you.
I was kind of talking with Coach S and others, so that's a busy time not hosting the national championship. But yeah, typically what will happen is the conference schedule is it's already set. I don't have those dates. I'm sure that Coach Stutz could give them to me, but right now I'm not letting him think about next year. Typically, we'll have the Mid-South Conference schedule is made, and there's 14 games right there. Right now, again, the Mid-South only having 7 teams, trying to get more teams into the MSC. But you got those scheduled, and that's typically the spring half of the season. The second half of the season, then that non-conference slate, Coach Stutz is, just asking teams, and teams will ask him, try to go to, things like the Battle at the Beach, go to those showcases and things, because Coach Stutz wants to have, he is proud of the fact that I believe this year they had that number 33 strength of schedule.
Wow.
That's not just, Georgetown is a perennial powerhouse. The University of the Cumberlands was in Kansas City this year. The Mid-South Conference is a tough basketball conference.
Absolutely.
And so that already is going to make your strength of schedule high. Coach Dust doesn't want a cupcake non-conference schedule. He'll schedule games against, ranked opponents often and early. Face Tougaloo twice early, who was ranked. Face UT Southern to start the game, who made a late run. He's just in contact with coaches, and he'll make those, and he'll give me that. My say in the schedule is he hands it to me.
All right, Dustin. Right now, the students are on spring break. They come back after Easter weekend, which, by the way, I'm going to see a lot of Freed-Hardeman alum this weekend, because my church has what's called Lads to Leaders Convention, where you got conventions in Nashville, Atlanta. I mean, there's going to be a Freed-Hardeman booth. I got to find a way to get a championship T-shirt. If they don't sell at the booth, I'm going to get it online, because I will be supporting my Freed-Hardeman championship T-shirt. All my Freed-Hardeman swag, Dustin, is the traditional maroon and gold. I mean, it's not the off maroon with, the white. I mean, I know that it seems like that's the new color. They changed the logo. Yeah, I got to get some new Freed-Hardeman swag, especially my championship T-shirts. But when the students come back, not this week, but next week, what is the vibe going to be like in that chapel service? I mean, is it going to be in the sports center? Is it going to be a celebration of the team? I mean, what's the schedule looking like for the championship celebration? And will there be like a possible parade in Henderson?
I don't know about a parade. I do know that we are working on getting a getting a celebration coming. Obviously, we've got chapel every day, and they'll probably announce it and cheer, but we are planning on having a formal celebration of types, in the sports center, display the trophy, show the banner, let Coach Stutz talk, let Coach Estes give us a sermon, and things like that. I don't know about a parade, or it's still been a whirlwind for us. The team didn't get back till yesterday. I didn't get back until yesterday. And again, part of the SID duties is I've got baseball tomorrow. And so, Coach Coach Stutz gets to sit and celebrate for a while, but Coach Estes and I both, we've got other sports going on right now. And so we're going to try to enjoy the ride and try to keep planning those things. But, we've still got work going on.
And Dustin, my last question to you is, it's been on my mind, like when you win a championship with the girls winning in 2018, representing the town of Henderson, Tennessee, which is a small town with about 5,000 people. A lot of people, when they think of Henderson, Tennessee, I mean, they don't think of like Jackson or that area, but it's putting Henderson, Tennessee on the map. And my big thing is I'm a big fan of signs going into the town. Is that a possibility? Creating a sign that says home of the 2024 Freed-Hardeman NAIA national champions. I mean, because that's a big deal when you're driving through these towns. I mean, people will go through Henderson when they're down in Corinth, Mississippi. They're trying to get to Jackson. They're going up Highway 45. You got to represent your town. I mean, is that a possibility? Working with Chester County to try to get signs to welcome you into Henderson?
Well, right now there are some billboards as you come in that say, welcome, you're in line country. This is Freed-Hardeman. So you do at least see those.
Right.
Again, I don't have a say in those kind of things, but I did talk with Coach Stutz about, I need to find out who, because that would be great, especially since, I live in Jackson. And so I passed by the home of I think it was 2010 Union University NAIA champions. So,
right.
I pass that every day. And so, it would be, there is a sign. It's once you get into campus, though, it's right off of Paul Gray Hall that says home of the 2018 women's basketball national champions. But that's,
okay.
In Henderson, in the town itself. But I would certainly love to see, the home of the 2018 women's national champions, home of the 2024 men's national champions. And of course, while we're at it, we could put up the home of the 1988 men's tennis doubles champions. That's one of those
I
we
remember,
forget.
I remember when tennis was a power. When I was at Freed-Hardeman, tennis was the thing for Freed-Hardeman. They were winning, multiple Trans-South championships. I mean, they were displaying a bunch of tennis banners. But that would be great. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to WBBJ for making the trip to Kansas City and just providing that footage. WBBJ has always been a great partner of Freed-Hardeman Athletics when I was there. And we've had former Freed-Hardeman students that would go on to be WBBJ news anchors and sports anchors. I think that's a great partnership that you guys have with that local ABC affiliate in Jackson.
Yeah, Ryan Hodges is the guy who came to Kansas City, a Freed alum. His dad was the golf coach for a while. I took his brother's job. His brother, Taylor, is now in California being an SID. He was the SID at Freed-Hardeman before me. And so Ryan is the WBBJ news person who went to Kansas City, took those videos. And it's always good to see Freed-Hardeman on those big networks. I'm trying to get it out to some of the even bigger networks, the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, the Tennessean in Nashville. We're going to talk to the folks in Florence because that's where the Stutz family is from. Try and get this good news spread out as far as we can.
Well, Dustin, I appreciate you being a guest on the show, and come back anytime. I love just talking Freed-Hardeman athletics with you, and it's a celebration. Just continue celebrating this week because this has really been surreal for all of us that went to Freed-Hardeman, and it's really been a great Freed-Hardeman week.
It's been such a great week, and like I said, softball swept yesterday. Baseball, we're going to hope that they do the same this weekend, playing Campbellsville. Tennis is playing today. So a lot of opportunities to enjoy Freed-Hardeman, but we're still going to celebrate FHU basketball.
All right, that is the Sports Information Director, Dustin Semore of Freed-Hardeman University. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Sports Beat, and we'll see you next time.